Have you been trying to build your cash pay practice but feel like a lot of prospective clients say they can't afford your fees? What if I told you that there is a way for you to receive your full fee for therapy while your client has full coverage without accepting any insurance? In today's episode, I interview two very special guests who work for a company that provides Christian counseling free of charge to their employees. I'll be sharing with you exactly how you can get connected with them so you can become one of their preferred providers. Hey, Christian therapist, are you craving a counseling career that aligns with your faith and actually supports your well being? Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, Christian therapist, private practice owner, and business coach for mental health professionals like you. In this podcast, you'll get practical strategies and faith led guidance to help you build a thriving private practice, one that serves your clients well and makes an impact for the kingdom of God. So, what are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and join me for today's episode. Welcome back to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Van Hooser. We have some special guests with me here today for our episode. But before we dive into that, I wanted to let you know about my coaching offer that I am doing right now. I am doing a special right now called Optimize Your Practice. This is for a structured 60-minute coaching call with me. During this session, I assess 6 different pillars of a healthy private practice. This includes your mindset. It includes your vision for your private practice. We go over client focus and niche, your marketing and networking, your financial sustainability, and all things that are necessary in order to run a sustainable and successful private practice. This will really help you identify what it is that you need to focus on and what you need to do next in order to take your private practice to the next level. You'll also become more aware of what's been holding you back from really launching forward into the private practice of your dreams. So I'm offering the 60-minute coaching session at a rate of $97 right now. That also includes a follow-up 1 week later via email where I'm going to check in, see how you're doing with the goals that we set, and of course, provide you with opportunity to get more support if you need it. If this is something that you'd like to take advantage of, go ahead and shoot me an email at kimberly@kimberlyvanhooser.com with the word optimize in the subject line. I'll go ahead and leave my contact information in the show description below. Today, I have two special guests here with me. I'm here with Anna Wilcox and Hannah Knight from a company called Barnhart Cares. So thank you, ladies, so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much. We're
Yeah,
excited to be here.
thanks for having us.
Excited to have you. Can you share a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. My name is Hannah Knight, and I get to serve as the Director of Ministry Operations for Barnhart Crane and Rigging. I've been with the company for about almost 10 years now, which is kind of wild to think about being anywhere for 10 years. But in my role, I get to help steward our international giving as well as our local and employee care programs. And so one of which we get to talk about today with our Christian counseling that we offer through Barnhart Cares. And I'm so excited to talk more about it because it's just so special what our company offers.
Thank you, Hannah. Anna, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Anna Wilcox. I am the Barnhart Cares coordinator here, and what that means is I get to help oversee and develop and direct our cares programs alongside of Hannah. I have been at Barnhart for a little over a year now, and I came from the nonprofit space. So I came from a development role with a nonprofit here in Memphis and was able to meet the people, came to Barnhart last July, and have been really encouraged, one, that companies like Barnhart exist that care deeply about their employees, but also about our communities.
And can you share a little bit about the counseling program? Hannah, I know you mentioned that. So tell us a little bit about counseling that Barnhart Cares offers.
So the Kingdom Companies Group is a group of like-minded companies who each have common ownership. So we, each of these companies, there are about 7 in total now, which is wild. When we started KCG, I think we had 3 or 4 companies. So it's just grown exponentially in such a short amount of time. But each of these companies have been gifted to nonprofits. So Barnhart specifically is owned by National Christian Foundation, and each were started and continue to be run with the intention of giving a portion of their profit to, some of it goes into obviously the building and the development and continued improvement of the companies. And then 50% goes to ministry resourcing. So that takes shape in different ways, one of which is our international giving. We give to Great Commission focused organizations in hard places. We also get to help fund local initiatives that are near where our employees work and where our employees are currently involved in serving. And then there's this third aspect of the employee care. So we have several resources that are available to our employees that have come from felt needs. So our employees are mostly field personnel, so they spend most of their time out of an office setting. And we have such a short amount of time to serve them and to reach them during the day. So they may be there for 10 or 15 minutes, 30 minutes for the safety meeting in the morning, and then they're dispatched to the different jobs that they're working on. Some are gone for 300 out of 365 days out of the year on jobs. And so as you can imagine, there are several things that someone could experience. There's struggles that come alongside that. We saw a lot of relational struggles that started to surface. And so when we were looking at how we can best care for our employees, we thought of marriages that are in crisis. We thought of even parental relationships that tend to take a hit from just the absence of a family member. Christian counseling just seemed like a no-brainer. Counseling seemed like a no-brainer. And because of our worldview, Christian counseling, we want someone to be pointed to truth. We want them to get to the heart of their struggle. And so it seemed like a really great opportunity for us to be able to care for our employee in a holistic way.
Great. So Barnhart, they are part of something called Kingdom Companies Group. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we talk about KCG, we're talking about 7 companies. So when a provider is approved to see some of our employees, there could be overlap within that area. So we have some states in locations where there's multiple companies present. And so there's the potential to be serving more than just Barnhart when you're approved on our network.
That's wonderful. And would one of you like to share just a little bit more about the Christian counseling that is offered to employees? So when they notice that they're having a struggle, what does the employee do to reach out, and maybe a little bit about what that process is?
Yeah, so if one of our employees realizes or someone encourages them, hey, maybe you need to talk to someone about this particular issue or whatever's going on in your life, there's a few different steps that they can take. But right now, we have all of our approved providers listed on a web link, and all of our employees have access to that web link through our CARES website, through our CARES teams. Because most of our branches have what's called a CARES team. It's basically a group of people who volunteer alongside of the, day-to-day job. They help communicate some of our CARES benefits and support elements to our staff. So they get connected with a provider through that link, or they can contact myself, or they could contact our counseling provider partner, Heart Life Soul Care here in Memphis, and they will be directed to a provider within their particular state or area. Our intention is that we can remove pretty much all of Barnhart, if possible, from that process. We would love for our employees to be able to have the agency and access to source a provider in their area and make a direct contact to that provider without having to ask me or Hannah or their boss, who can they see or, where can they go? Our goal is that they all have the knowledge and the ability to have direct access to that support. We want them to feel comfortable and confident to be able to take that next step. It's a big step. And we just want to make sure that they feel confident to do that. So that's kind of the process. They make direct contact with the provider. That provider has already undergone our vetting process with Heart Life. They are aware of our process, aware if they hear someone call and say, hey, I'm a KCG employee, or I'm a Barnhart employee, or I'm a ProLift employee, they know to kind of loop them up under this process. And from that point on, that employee receives care up to a certain amount of sessions, and then that employee should not see a bill for those sessions. The bill is processed through our third-party agency. Again, that's Heart Life. And then we receive it on the back end after all personal and employee information has been removed from the invoice. And that's how that whole process looks from start to finish.
Oh, great. So it sounds like the employees, they really have confidentiality. It's not necessarily being known that they're seeing a therapist within their workplace.
That's right. Yeah,
Oh,
that's the goal, is that we don't know anything and they know we don't know anything when it comes time to either transition to a different provider, or maybe they've met their session max. That conversation is handled with the provider and the employee. Again, we don't have any say, or we don't speak into that process. We've established a process with HeartLife. They communicate it with the provider, and that has seemed to work really well thus far.
that's great. Because I know for myself, I've had prospective clients call before and they're concerned, like, will you tell my work, and not wanting it to impact them negatively, even though they need help. So I love that you guys really support like the anonymity for them. So it's not even something where they have to be ashamed or embarrassed or worried what their bosses might be thinking, knowing they have some mental health struggles. So that is wonderful. Most of my listeners are therapists who are Christian and wanting more clients. So if you can tell me a little bit about what that process might be like if they're interested in becoming a provider for you.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, we did not figure this out from the get-go. It's been a lot of trial and error. When we first started offering counseling for employees, it was not widely known that it was available. We kind of were we were offering it based on the recommendation of our corporate chaplains that we have in locations. And so it was kind of a case by case basis. And whenever we started our CARES program back in 2018, it was something that we knew there was need for. We wanted to make sure that we were offering it more widespread and more evenly. But, when you start these things, you don't know what you don't know. And so we did start it to the best of our ability. But there was, the vetting process kind of looked different from counselor to counselor. There wasn't any kind of regular cadence of check-ins with the providers. And as you can imagine, like, there's just a wide variety of differences of opinions, of worldviews that can exist within any space, but especially within this space. And so we struggled to ensure that we were providing counselors and recommending counselors who shared our worldview and shared everything, shared alignment with what we do and what we believe. And then two, there wasn't that buffer of HeartLife that HeartLife has offered. So there wasn't the anonymity that we desired for our employees to have. And I think that created a barrier for a lot of our employees, because there was, it would make me doubt the process if I were to partake in the counseling program. And, HeartLife has offered administrative help. So they help track the number of sessions that each employee has utilized. They track additional sessions. So we have a process for someone to fill out a release form that opens a line of communication from the provider to a HeartLife clinician, and they discuss the need and they'll approve additional sessions if those are needed. It's grown exponentially in the last couple of years, and I think it's grown both in size as well as the anonymity, and the way that we want to offer it has been improved a whole lot.
That's wonderful. And how many employees are in your network?
We have almost 4,000 employees.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. And so then if a therapist is wanting to get connected or become a provider, how would that happen? Who would they connect with? And then what would they need to expect in terms of getting approved?
So they can connect with myself, Hannah, or they can connect with our HeartLife team. So they can reach out to Amy at HeartLife, and her email is kcgcares@heartlifesoulcare.com. We can basically start by saying, hey, if a provider wants to reach out to us and they say, hey, I'm interested in providing services or being a part of this network, you can reach out to one of us, and that starts the kind of vetting process. So there is an application that we request all providers fill out. There's also some release forms, things like that providers will need to have on hand for any clients that come to see them. And there's typically a conversation between the provider and HeartLife after that paper application has been filled out and we've received certain paperwork from the provider, insurance information, malpractice information. And then we ask some questions on our application just about worldview, about where a provider or a practice sits on a certain number of questions or topics. And so pending those answers, pending the conversation with HeartLife, our providers are approved. And then we're able to add them to our resource list and then start sharing with our employees within that, whatever area that provider works within. And that could be anything from, if they provide services in Mandan, North Dakota, which I need one there. But it also could be that they provide services across North Dakota. They're a telehealth provider as well. We're always looking to add more providers, both in person and telehealth. We want to provide options for our employees. We know not every provider is going to be perfect for every employee. So no matter what type of services they provide, we want to make sure that as long as we are aligned on those, that paperwork and that application, that we want to make sure, our employees have a plethora to choose from. So that's what that looks like. They can reach out to any one of us and we will get them connected with the right process.
Great. And I'll make sure I leave contact information in my show description. So if anyone listening wants to reach out, I'll have the emails listed so you know how to get connected. And I remember, I think Amy from HeartLife, she had reached out to me. I just got an email one day, and for a lot of therapists who are listening, I know sometimes we get these like spammy type emails where someone's wanting something or like, hey, join our network and it's for BetterHelp and we'll pay you $20 an hour for these clients. And so I almost just deleted it, but I took a moment to read through it and thought this sounds really awesome. And I responded, and Amy set up a time to call and talk to me. It was such a blessing to get connected with her. And so that's why I'm so happy to be able to hopefully send some other good Christian therapists your way. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we found that either personal referral or being having someone to vouch for you has made a huge difference, because people do see those emails and assume spam, or, it almost sounds too good to be true almost. But yeah, we so appreciate you providing this avenue. Hopefully we'll have some folks reach out, because we would love to expand our network.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about like how many sessions in general are covered for employees?
Yeah, so we say 10 sessions per life circumstance. And that sounds somewhat vague on purpose. We understand that different things are going to come up in different life seasons and at different times. We also, this service is available to our employee, but also their dependent family. So their children or their spouse, people within their home with them. That's who this service is available to. And so we know that while their child might need a certain amount of sessions, they, as well as the parent, they want to learn how to support their child. They also might need to talk to someone in that process. So we say 10 sessions per life circumstance. If the provider that they are seeing feels that there needs to be an extension for that, that's when that process that Hannah referenced, that release form, comes in, and that the provider is able to communicate directly with HeartLife. Again, myself and Hannah and Barnhart is not involved in that conversation. And that provider is able to go to HeartLife and say, hey, this is what we're working through. This is what I think is needed. And so that's what that transition process looks like and the session count looks like.
Wonderful. And then the provider, they receive their full fee for therapy, correct?
That's correct. Yes, we do not have a cap on session amount. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, that is so great. So everyone listening out there, not only does your client get essentially free therapy, you're also getting your full cash pay rate. So that is something I think is such a blessing to take advantage of, because one of the major barriers that we're seeing for treatment is people either thinking they can't afford it or they literally cannot afford it. And then can you tell, I think you mentioned this, Anna, but where exactly are you needing therapists? Like what locations?
Yeah, so Barnhart has, if you ask someone different, they'll tell you something different. I say nearly or just over 70 branches. That includes a few branches in Western Canada. So it's a lot of ground to cover. And what we would like to see is that we have at least one in-person provider per branch, and then we would like a telehealth provider per state. So we are pretty much 100% covered in terms of telehealth providers, which is great. That means we have an immediate resource to provide our employees. But what we would love to have is an in-person provider. And while I could send you a whole list of places I'm looking for, I think one of the bigger regions that we've struggled with is our kind of Midwest region. So anything in the Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Illinois, or Indiana, some of those places, also Nebraska. some of those states, kind of that big Midwest portion, that's who we're kind of looking to target. We have a good amount of branches within that region as well. And so would love to be able to provide them, again, options, right? We want telehealth and in person, and even in the in-person option, we would love to have some different choices available to our employees.
Wonderful. And I do believe I know I have listeners in some of those areas. So if any of you listening are in the Midwest, and especially if you provide in person, you're a hot commodity, make sure you reach out. That's great.
We
And
have a lot of remote locations too. So, I mean, it's not altogether surprising that we're struggling to find someone in North Dakota,
Yeah.
small town North Dakota. But we would love to talk to anyone who is in those locations.
And do you accept providers who are not fully licensed and are still under supervision, or do you need to have your full licensure in order to be a provider?
Yeah, great question. We accept providers if they are under supervision at a practice. They have to be at a practice that's been approved by us with licensed counselors, as long as their supervisor is a licensed provider. Our employees are able to see that provider. Outside of that, though, we want all of our providers to be fully licensed if they're not under supervision of a fully licensed individual, completing their hours or something like that. It's a level of protection that we want to be able to provide our employees. So we request that all providers are fully licensed.
Okay. And then just to clarify with that, because I know in some states you can be pre-licensed seeking outside supervision, but you still have your own private practice. So is that allowed, or does their supervisor have to technically be one of your approved providers? And then since they're seeing someone under that person's license, then they could also be a provider. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think in that situation, we would want their supervisor to be an approved provider, and then we would be able to allow them to see some of our employees. But if they're not fully licensed and they're still operating with their own private practice, we would probably not be able to provide our employees to them until they have their full licensure.
Okay. Okay.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a individual provider application. So if you are an individual provider, you have your own private practice, we have an application just for you. But if you're part of a practice and you think your entire practice would be interested in this process, if you think your practice would align with our values, then we have a separate application for that, that's always great too. It provides a lot of options in one area. So we have both. If anyone is a part of a practice and you would be interested in submitting your practice for this, that's great. But even if not, if you as an individual within a practice want to participate in this, totally fine. We have an individual application as well.
And what kind of traits, like what are you looking for in your providers?
Everything, anything and everything. We have a huge plethora of employees. We have needs all across the board. We need everything from providers that specialize with children to family counselors to those with some marriage support experience. And also, we would love it if there's some people with maybe some substance abuse specialties. And so, yeah, we have no limitations on what we're looking for. We believe that there's a lot of different needs that our employees and their families feel. And so we have no limitations that I know of.
One thing that I think would be helpful to know is whether they have availability like on evenings or weekends. So that's one of the, I think, limiting factors that our employees have to consider is much of our workforce is hourly. And so an hour spent away may not seem like a big deal to, someone who's salaried or in the office, but it's a big consideration for our field employees to make. Aside from just the perception of them having to leave during the workday and come back, we want to, if there is someone out there that offers nights and weekend hours for counseling, we would love to know that.
Let's see. Is there anything else that you would like our audience to know that maybe I haven't thought to ask about or we haven't touched base on yet?
Yeah, I would just say, I know the majority of your audience is other counselors. We love to talk to other businesses as well. So if there is a business that you know of, or if you are at a business that may be interested in incorporating something similar to this, we really tried to kind of package this to where it can be replicated in other contexts. So we have all of our forms. We've benefited from other foundations, other companies sharing their resources with us, and have copied a lot of what other companies and foundations do. And so we want to be open-handed with everything that we've created. We got the chance to present this to a group of companies that are incorporating CARES programs back in February, and it was really encouraging just to hear the receptiveness of, we'd love to do this, we've tried to do this, and it hasn't really worked, but all it really takes is finding your heart life in your context. So if you have a trusted local provider who would be willing to do this, who maybe has a collaborative art, I would encourage you to reach out to us, because we'd love to talk you through that.
What kind of businesses are you looking for?
Really anything. I mean, I've talked to recently just a dental office that has multiple locations that is looking to start doing something similar in their context for their employees. And we've talked to companies that look more similar to Barnhart, with lots of field personnel who are very spread out, or trying and struggling to reach their employees in the time that they have with them. So I think caring for your employees it's not specific to one company or another. I think it should be something that's top of mind, and it's an opportunity that we have as well.
Are they primarily like usually businesses where the owners are Christian, or do you work with secular businesses as well?
I've spoken mostly with companies who are run by Christians. They may not, similar to Barnhart, we don't consider ourselves a Christian company. We're a company that's run by Christians. You don't have to be a Christian to work here. We have employees from all walks of life, but you get the benefit of working for a company that is run with those standards and those beliefs. So I would be willing to talk to anyone.
And then the providers who actually provide therapy, are all of those Christians?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That was what my understanding, but a lot of the employees may not necessarily be Christian. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and that's a big question a lot of my listeners have sometimes is, do I offer specifically Christian counseling, or what if I'm just a Christian who's offering counseling and wanting to reach the secular world as well? But it's still a gift to those people. We're still carrying the Holy Spirit into each session. So
Yeah.
for people who are listening who might also have a heart, obviously, to work with non-Christians, that might be something where an employee might feel more comfortable if you're not marketed as like super, super Christian on your website and things like that. So yeah.
We just want to make sure that they're not receiving care that's antithetical to those
Yes.
beliefs. So I think
Yes.
as long as the worldview is guiding the care that you do give, then yeah, I would encourage
Yeah.
you to continue reaching people who are all walks of life.
Wonderful. Is there any way that I can help support you in your mission and endeavors besides just sending hopefully good providers for your network?
This is such a great start. I mean, so generous of you to invite us on here. We're so grateful. When we got the email, I was like, there couldn't be anything negative about doing this. Like,
Mhm.
it's fun to share what God has built in and through this organization. And yeah, our hope is just that maybe someone catches interest and reaches out to us. So thank you for your generosity in inviting us on here.
Of course, well, I want to thank you guys because it's so encouraging, I think, to know that there's people out there and companies out there who see the value in supporting their employees and letting their employees getting therapy. And then it's always so nice as the therapist be like, wow, like the financial piece is removed. I don't have to worry about costing my client money or anything like that. They're getting a great value. And then I'm also being blessed through that as well, too. So really happy to be able to share that with my audience as well. Um, Great. Well, it's been such a blessing to meet with both of you. And I'll make sure I have the right contact information so I can share that with my listeners as well. And hopefully you'll see some people reaching out to you here in the near future.
We're so excited. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kimberly.
A big thank you to everyone in my audience who took time to listen to today's episode. I'm sure there are some of you out there who feel like you would be a good fit for offering Christian counseling to the employees of Barnhart Cares and the other Kingdom Company groups. So make sure that you check out the contact information. I'll make sure I drop that in the description below. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'd also love to have you join my free Facebook community. Start and grow your private practice as a Christian therapist. I'll make sure I leave a link for that in the comments below as well. It is really, truly my heart to help other Christians who are working in the field of mental health to make an impact and to still have the private practice of their dreams. So if you need any coaching or guidance with that, I'd love to help you out with a private coaching session. You know where to find me. I look forward to having you join me for our next episode. If you found value in today's episode, would you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts? It helps other faith-led clinicians like you find the show. And don't forget to join my free Facebook community, Start and Grow Your Private Practice as a Christian Therapist, where you'll join other clinicians for encouragement, accountability, and free tips and support. See you there.